Jeopardy! Please welcome our contestant. Player one. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Brevet.
Thanks, Johnny. Welcome to Jeopardy, everyone. Good luck to you in the Jeopardy round. For this game, the categories are as follows. How's the weather? Historic London. Not a verb. Not nominated for Best Picture. Mountains. And now appearing in a biblical book near you. Player one, where do we start? September 4th, 2007 was the first time that two of these, Henriette and Felix, made landfall on the same day. Okay, player one. Right. You get to pick again, player one. Mountain passes speed up hot, dry air, giving this U.S. state its Santa Ana winds. It's player one. No, sorry. Here's what we wanted. California. Player one, choose again. It's the Daily Double. And you're in the lead now. How much? And the Daily Double clue. The forecast is cloudy with a 30% chance of these, characterized by the sudden start and stop of light rainfall. Right. Player one. Pick again. High clouds may bring this type of damaging precipitation, especially to the alley for it in the Rockies. Player one? Yeah! That's right. Way to go. You get to pick again, player one. Longer autumn nights let the ground cool, producing condensation, and the ground type of this. It's player one. You are correct. You get to pick again, player one. You can visit several of these historic structures like Kensington and Buckingham. Okay, player one. Correct. Player one, you pick again, please. Regent's Park was a hunting ground for this 16th century king who never hunted without tiring 8 or 10 horses. Yes, player one? Sorry, that's wrong. We're talking about Henry VIII. Player one, choose again. Famous men who orated at Hyde Park's Speaker's Corner include Friedrich Engels and this 1848 Engels co-author. The correct response is Karl Marx. Please pick again, player one. Arthur Wellesley, the first Duke of this, was known as a soldier, but had an eye for art, as you can see at Apsley House. Here's what we were looking for. Wellington. You again, player one. According to Shakespeare, these conflicts began with a confrontation in the Temple Gardens. It's player one. Correct.
Yeah! Woo!
Player one, choose again. Scary seven-headed beasts are a vision to behold in this book. Player one? Good.
Yeah! Woo!
Player one, you pick again, please. Ancestor of one of the 12 tribes, Benjamin appears in this biblical book as his mom Rachel dies giving birth to him. Player one? Yep. Player one, pick again. Let's get Sarah's assistance on this clue.
A mosaic depicting loaves and fishes is from an ancient church on the shore of this sea, where Jesus is said to have performed the miracle.
Yes, player one? That's correct. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Babylonian King Nebuchadnezzar appears in this book of the Bible, where he has some dreams interpreted. Okay, player one.
Yeah.
Right. Player one, choose again. The Sermon on the Mount is recounted in books 5 to 7 of this gospel. Yes, player one. Right.
Yeah.
Please pick again, player one. The Hoosick Mountains are a range of these colorful mountains located in Vermont. Here's the response we were looking for. The Green Mountains. Please pick again, player one. Tenzing Norgay was one of the first two men to reach the summit of this mountain on May 29, 1953. Here's the correct response. Mount Everest. Player one, you pick again, please. Let's go over to Jimmy.
The Wa'anae Mountains in this U.S. state rise up to 4,025-foot Mount Ka'ala.
Here's what we were looking for. Hawaii. Player one, back to you. The Caucasus Mountains of Eastern Europe are predominantly found in this country. Here's the correct response. Russia. Player one, back to you. Geological evidence shows that this 5,000-mile mountain chain may extend south into Antarctica. Here's the correct response. The Andes. Player one, you pick again, please. Bogey and Hepburn floated across the screen in this 1951 film that pleased audiences and critics, but not the Academy. The correct response is The African Queen. Player one, back to you for our next selection. You couldn't drag a Best Picture nomination out of the Academy for this 1959 Billy Wilder film. Well, nobody's perfect. Here's the response we were looking for. Some like it hot. We return to you, player one. The Academy must have been out to lunch not nominating this 1961 Audrey Hepburn-George Peppard film. Here's what we were looking for. Breakfast at Tiffany's. You again, player one. In 1954, this Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly starer from Alfred Hitchcock didn't get a second glance. Here's the correct response. Rear Window. Player one, choose again. Driving Miss Daisy won for 1989, the year this Spike Lee film about urban racism was passed over. Here's the response we were looking for. Do the Right Thing. We return to you, player one. Candor, center, canter. Okay, player one. Sorry, that's wrong. The correct response is candor. Player one, back to you. Salt, pepper, sage. Okay, player one.
Yeah.
Good. Player one, choose again. Wind, wander, wonderful. Let's hear it, player one. Good.
Yeah. Woo.
We return to you, player one. Paint, brush, easel. Let's hear it, player one. That's correct. And we'll wrap up the board with this clue. Capable, succeed, accomplish. Player one. Correct. The Double Jeopardy round will begin right after this. We start the Double Jeopardy categories with this one. The Vatican. Women's firsts. Health and medicine. Beastly expressions. Wolfgang. And the sporting life. All right, if you're ready, it's double Jeopardy time. You can weigh up to 147 pounds in this boxing class between lightweight and middleweight. Player one? That's not it. Here's the correct response. Welterweight. Player one, back to you for our next selection. In 1967, Memorial Coliseum in this West Coast city hosted the first Super Bowl. Green Bay beat Kansas City 35-10. Here's the correct response. Los Angeles. Player one, pick again. In 2006, Massachusetts made this sport, invented there, the official sport of the Commonwealth. Here's what we were looking for. Basketball. Please pick again, player one. All right, here with the clue is Kelly.
Popular in the British Isles and the Commonwealth, it's the sport being played here.
It's player one.
Yeah.
Good for you. Player one, pick again. This ABC show debuted April 29, 1961, with Jim McKay as host. Here's what we wanted. Wide world of sports. We return to you, player one. Crispin of Viterbo was the first one of these created by John Paul II. We're talking about a saint. We return to you, player one. You may not use cell phones or felt-tip pens when researching in the secret these. Here's the response we were looking for. The archives. Player one, you pick again, please. The four papal these churches include St. Peter's and St. John Lateran. Yes, player one?
Yeah.
Good. Player one, pick again. The Inventario Manoscritti room is part of this Vatican building. We're talking about the library. Player one, choose again. The faithful can make offerings via cash or credit card to the fund called This Man's Pence. Here's the correct response. Peter. You again, player one. Let's show her a little RESPECT. She's the first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The correct response is Aretha Franklin. Player one, back to you. Sarah?
In 2007, Drew Gilpin Faust became the first female president in the 371-year history of this picturesque university.
Player one? Yep. Player one, you pick again, please. Registering as Kay Switzer in 1967, Catherine Switzer became the first woman to officially enter and run this race. Okay, player one. Good. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Frances Perkins became the first woman cabinet member when FDR put her to work as secretary of this. The correct response is labor. Please pick again, player one. Answer, the first of the daily doubles. You are currently in the lead. Decide on your wager, player one. Answer this. Wilma Mankiller was the first woman to serve as principal chief of this Southeast Native American tribe. Right. You get to pick again, player one. In a 12th century beast epic, Isengrim is a wolf who battles against the sneaky Reynard, one of these animals. We're talking about a fox. Player one, choose again. In a medieval legend, the town of Gubbio is terrorized by a wolf until this saint greets it and tames it. Here's the response we were looking for. St. Francis. You get to pick again, player one. Answer. The other daily double. And you're in the lead now. Please enter your wager. All right, here's your clue. Raksha is the mother wolf who raises this human boy in Kipling's The Jungle Book. Correct. You again, player one. This Jack London wolf character survives years of dogfighting and finally finds a compassionate human owner. We're talking about White Fang. Select again. In her novel The Plains of Passage, a wolf named Wolf is the hunting partner of a cave woman. Here's the correct response. Jean M. Aul. You get to pick again, player one. Lateral epicondylitis is the medical term for the chronic arm injury called this sport's elbow. Yes, player one? Sorry, that's wrong. The correct response is tennis. You again, player one. Statin drugs like Lipitor are used to lower the bad type of this. Yes, player one? Right you are. Player one, you pick again, please. A sign of this infection from the virus that also causes chickenpox is a blistering rash preceded by severe pain. Player one? No. Here's the correct response. Shingles. Player one, choose again. There are viral and bacterial types of this, the inflammation of the membranes covering the brain and spinal cord. Here's the correct response. Meningitis. Player one, you pick again, please. The name of this fluid that contains white blood cells comes from the Latin for water. It's player one. That's correct. You get to pick again, player one. Curiosity killed this animal. Yes, player one? That's it. We return to you, player one. On Cheers, Norm said it was this kind of world, and I'm wearing milk-bone underwear. Yes, player one?
Yeah!
Hey, you're right. Select again. To look guilty but smug is to look like the cat that ate this bird. Player one? No, sorry. Here's the correct response. Canary. Player one, you pick again, please. To cry these is to show insincere sorrow. Player one?
Yeah!
Right. Here's the $2,000 clue. This porcine phrase refers to something of undetermined value as a purchase. Here's the response we were looking for. Pig in a poke. Looks like you'll be moving on to Final Jeopardy after this commercial break. Here's the Final Jeopardy category. The 1970s. Please enter your wager. Now it's time for the Final Jeopardy clue, and here it is. For an historic February 1972 trip, Richard Nixon and Henry Kissinger each learned to use these. Nixon was better at it. What did you say? How much do you add to your total with that correct response? This makes you our new champion, player one, so congratulations. So long.